in all that honing, right, getting better, the ethical, and you touched on, are there actual objective moral aspects of how we're supposed to act? How do we think about that, right? Because we go back to more of the relativism view, or at least the more subjective view that it's what it is for everybody. We start to get back into this place of, if everybody has a different version of what honing that skill looks like, of what better looks like, of what ethical means, as soon as that subjectivity comes back in, you could make an argument again, the whole thing crumbles, because there are no objective truths of what is the right way to act. We can have some general things that we agree upon, but maybe I'll start the question this way. If there were objective truths of morally, ethically, how we're supposed to act, what are they rooted in? Does it have to be based in a God that dictated them and declared them as they were? Because where my mind goes, it almost has to be that. If it's not that, what else would it be that would give us any confidence to say, yes, there is an objective moral truth out there?
I think where that comes from is acknowledging the reality that as a human society, or even a subculture within a human society, our subjective actions, our subjective thoughts, and our subjective or intersubjective interactions with other people create objective realities. When, let's just take a simple example here. If you have two people, you have A and B, and A and B have this interaction that has gone on for a significant amount of time. And A has opinions, thoughts, feelings, and B has opinion, thoughts, feelings, and they share those with each other, at least to an extent. Then what they have shared with each other and how they presented themselves to each other are absolutely subjective. I mean, they're the ones doing it. They're individuals behaving, acting, speaking subjectively, individually. But because it has become an interaction between two people, that creates an objective reality. And when you scale that up to whether it's a family, whether it's a group of friends, whether it's a community, whether it's a city, whether it's a nation, or all of humanity, we are constantly creating these objective realities. The tricky thing is it's accepting that, yes, subjectivity in intersubjectivity is what creates this social objectivity. But that it is social objectivity does not mean that it will never change.
Mm.
Our social objective realities are constantly changing and evolving. Where people go wrong, in my opinion, is when they start to pretend or fool themselves into thinking that because it has been a certain way in the past,
Mm.
it will always be that way or always should be that way. Now,
Mm.
maybe things get better, maybe things get worse, but these customs, traditions, however you want to think about them, they change, but they are objective realities. We are thrown into a world in which part of being in that world means all the values have already been selected for us. This is again something that Max Scheller said, that we come into this world and everything is always has a value on it. And we have to learn how to navigate within those set of values. Well, those are objective realities. That doesn't mean that they're platonic ideal realities, but it's what we have to do. But in the intersubjective interactions that we have with other people in society as a whole, these things are constantly in flux and changing. Now,
Mm.
I am fine with that. Other people are not fine with
Yes.
that, and I'm sympathetic to that. It'd be nice to have everything cut and dried, and we don't have to worry or think about anything at all. But the subjectivity and the objectivity, I think, in the social realm are things that work with each other. They affect each other constantly.
It's a fascinating concept. And I'll say, I think if we go with that thread, it almost demands friction in society, because as you said, as young people are born into this world and start to evolve and develop their own consciousness and their own subjective reality, they begin to create a new objective reality. But then you have older generations who have lived with their version of the objective reality, which was true for them based on their subjective interactions. And at that point in which that starts to shift and the new objective reality takes over, and you could see some of that today in our social world and some of the social issues, it almost, unless everybody is this enlightened, super well thought out, maybe monk-like or whatever you want to call it, individual, you're going to have friction in that, because in the way you're positioning it, you have two camps that actually see two different quote unquote objective realities. And that gives them such confidence and conviction to say, you have to be wrong, particularly when you put an age dynamic on it and people feel like, look at these young kids coming up with these new objective realities. How foolish are they? Not realizing they did the same thing, right? And it creates this dynamic,
Oh,
which
yeah,
you're going to have conflict. You're going to have conflict in that.
yeah. In
Mm.
philosophy, a lot of philosophers use the term agonism or agonistic, in that not literal agony as in pain, but in the agony of this constant conflict, as you put it. And so
Mm.
that's the term that a lot of philosophers use. And now there's a debate, mostly again in feminist philosophy circles. What does it have to be that way? Is democracy, for example, inherently agonistic in that you are only having things emerging from struggle? And Jean-Jacques Rousseau thought that that is exactly how democracy works or society should work. That through the agonism between different people or different groups within society, the general will emerge through that agonistic struggle. And well, it'd be lovely to think that we could have this situation where we're all just completely open with each other, completely authentic with ourselves and each other, and we just come to realize through dialogue that yes, here's the solution. It's obvious. Why could we not see it otherwise? Uh, it's a lovely vision, but I don't know if it's even possible.
Yeah.
Uh, but the reality that we have to deal with, the objective social reality, is that yes, there is an agonistic struggle. Um, Class, if I dare use that as an example,
Sure.
of religion, gender, age, generational, as you brought up, which is a very good one actually. Uh, these things happen. These are social realities that we need
Mm.
to deal with.